Good morning children, this is your English literature class. How are you all? I hope you all are fine and safe. Children, today I am going to start with chapter 5, the Sri Krishna Eating House. Children, this chapter is the last chapter for your half-yearly examination. After this chapter, your half-yearly course will be completed. Children, the Sri Krishna Eating House is written by Anita Desai. So children, first of all, I will discuss about Anita Desai. Children, Anita Desai has written a number of short stories and several novels such as Bye Bye Blackbird and Where Shall We Go This Summer. She has awarded the Guardian Children's Fiction Prize for her novel The Village by the Sea. This excerpt is taken from her book called The Village by the Sea, which is a delightful story about a poor Indian family. There are 4 children, Hari, Leela, Bela and Komal, in this family. Their mother is very ill and their father is drunk most of the time. Hari and Leela are the 2 older children. Hari, feeling it is his duty to care for his family, leaves his family and his house and goes to Bombay for searching work and earns some money. Children, Bombay is now called Mumbai. He knows no one in the big city, but a kind watchman takes him to a small and dirty restaurant. The name of the restaurant was the Sri Krishna Eating House. So children, let us start this chapter. I will read the lines and explain it. Then, so start this chapter. Hari had been so tired and weak and anxious that first night that he had not really been aware of the place in which he found himself. He only saw it for the first time when he woke next morning. The Sri Krishna Eating House was the meanest and shabbiest restaurant Hari had ever seen. Even in Tool, there were cafes that were pleasanter, usually wooden shacks built in the shade of a mango or frangipani tree with a handful of marigolds and hibiscus crammed into an old ink bottle for a vase, colored bottles of irritated drinks attractively arranged on the shelves, and possibly a bright picture of a god and goddess on the wall with a tinsel garland around the frame, and heavily scented joss sticks burning before it. But the Sri Krishna Eating House did not have even so much as a colored picture of Krishna glued to the wall. Or perhaps there had been one and it had disappeared under the layers of green and soot with which the walls were coated. The ceiling was thick with cobwebs that trapped the soot and made a kind of furry blanket over one's head. The floor and the wooden tables were all black too, since they all got an even share of soot from the open stoves in the back room where the lentils were cooked all day in a huge aluminium pan and the chapatis were rolled by hand and baked. So children, in these lines, Hari was so tired, weak and anxious on that night in Mumbai. because he had not aware of this place. He saw the place for the first time when he woke up in the next morning. Children, the Sri Krishna eating house was the meanest and cheapest restaurant, but in the tour there were cafes and restaurants were pleasanter. Children, Tool is a place where Hari lived with his family. Tool restaurant built by wooden shacks in the shade of mango or frangipani tree. Those are decorated with flowers in the vase. In Tool restaurant had a bright picture of God or goddess on the wall with a tinsel garland around the frame and heavily scented joss stick burning before it. But the Sri Krishna house did not have even so much as a colored picture of Krishna pasted on the wall. The walls of this restaurant was in very bad condition. The ceiling was thick with spider webs. The floor and wooden tables were all black. The lentils were cooked all day in a huge aluminium pan and the chapatis were rolled by hand and baked. The restaurant was very dirty and small, children. The Sri Krishna eating house was very dirty and small. So children, let us come to next line. I will read these lines. It was certainly the cheapest restaurant everyone could possibly find in Bombay. Even a beggar could afford to buy himself a meal here. And the usual customers were beggars and coolies who had stopped in between carrying their loads. Shakes of coal and cylinders of gas and cart pullers who dragged goods through the city on long wooden hand-drawn carts. These people seem to have no fixed working hours. Before daylight, there were some waiting for a meal who were given the leftovers of the night before, and the last came in after a midnight when the whole city seemed to collapse into exhausted, disturbed sleep. So, of course, the owner had no time to sweep or clean his restaurant or the money to decorate it with pictures and flowers. He worked hard himself all day and had two boys to help him knead the dough in huge pans, roll out the chapatis and bake them over open fires which they kept lit day and night. When Hari said next morning, after being handed a tumbler of tea and a rolled up chapati without his asking for anything, I have no money to pay for this, for all this food you are giving me. Will you let me work in your kitchen instead? The man considered for only a moment, frowning as he thought. Then he said, "Yes, I can do with another boy in the kitchen. Start by washing these pots, then you can knead the dough and help roll out the chapatis. If you like, you can stay here and work for your meal. And 1 rupee a day like the other boys." So children, in this line, means that restaurant was the cheapest restaurant in Mumbai or Bombay. A beggar could afford to buy himself a meal here. And the customers of this restaurant were beggars, coolies, cart pullers, etc. These people have no fixed working hours. Sometimes they had come before daylight, sometimes they had come after midnight. It means they have no fixed working hours. and they have no fixed time for meal. When they were free from their work, so they had come for meal in that restaurant. So of course, owner had no time to sleep or clean his restaurant. He could not decorate with picture and flowers. He worked hard from day to night with the help of two boys. They helped him to cook lentils, roll out the chapatis and bake them over open fires. When Hari woke up next morning, the owner of restaurant gave him a cup of tea and a roll of chapati. Hari said he had no money to pay for this food which he is giving him. Then owner said to do kitchen work. He said that he can wash these kitchen pots and help to roll out the chapatis, and if he like, he can stay here and work for his meals. He will give him 1 rupee a day like the other boys. So children, let us come to next lines. So children, I will read next lines. So Hari went to work in the small kitchen at the back of the eating house. He saw there was nothing to score the pots with except some blackened coconut husk and the ash from the fires, and he did the best he could with them. Later he helped the two boys knead great hills outdoor in their pans, and this was hard work and made them grunt and sweat. They did not speak to each other as they worked. When the boys finally did say something to each other, Hari realized it was in Tamil, a language he did not know. Nor did they seem to know any Hindi or Marathi, the two languages he knew. So there was silence between them. They were in any case neither friendly nor inquisitive about him, or else they were simply too tired and too sad to speak. They built up the fires, and then while one rolled out the chapatis and other baked them over the fire with a pair of long tongs. The Hari was given the task of carrying them out to the customers eating at the long tables in the front room. There was so much work and such heat in that small place that no one ever seemed to have the strength or the time to talk. Hari too fell silent. Children, in this line, Hari went to work in a small kitchen at the back of the eating house. He saw there was nothing to score the pots with except some blackened coconut husk and the ash from the fires. He did the best. Finishing his work, Hari held the two boys. Two boys need large amount of dough in their pans. This task was very hard. This work was very hard to dough need the large amount of dough. The two boys did not speak to each other. They were busy to work. So as they worked, when the boys finally did say something to each other, they were speaking in Tamil language. But Hari did not know the language. They did not know Hindi or Marathi language, so they were not friendly with him. They were simply too tired, and they built up the fires, and then one boy rolled out the chapati and other baked the chapatis over the fire with a pair of long tongs. Hari was given the work of carrying them out to the customers eating at the long table in the front of room. There was so much work and very heat in that small place. There no one had the strength and time to talk. Hari was also silent like other two boys. So children, let us come to next line and I will read these lines. Now I will read next line. He would have had to remain silent if the man in the shop next door had not proved friendlier. It was a watch repair shop with its name painted on a signboard over the door. Ding dong watch works. And when Hari came out to empty a pail of garbage into one of the big concrete disposal units built on the roadside, the man who stood at the counter, wearing a small black cap and with an eye piece fixed to his eye, working at a minute watch that he held in the cup of his hand, looked at him and smiled. Hari smiled back. The old man looked so much like Sayyid Ali, the man who had spoken so well at the meeting by the black horse, that Hari instantly felt here was another fine and impressive man whom he could trust and who would understand him and try to help him. So a new boy at the Sri Krishna eating house called the old gentleman, then went back to his examination of the tiny watch, but continued to talk to Hari, who stood on the pavement, staring open mouthed at all the clocks that hung tick-tocking on the walls and the watches that glittered in the showcases. New to the city? He asked in a high-pitched, rather cracked and reedy voice. Hari nodded yes. Where do you come from? Jagu's village. Oh no, I don't know Jagu at all. I come from Tool, Hari said, eagerly finding the words rushing out like the small waves of the sea, brightly and happily. He felt proud of that address. Sayyid Ali of the Black Horse would have understood why, but it was obvious this gentleman knew nothing of Tool. He looked puzzled and curious. So children, here Hari had to remain silent. If the man in the next shop had not proved friendlier, the next shop was a watch repair shop. The name of the shop was Ding Dong Watch Work. When Hari came out to empty garbage into one of the big dustbin built on the roadside, the man stood at the counter, wearing a small black cap, looked at him and smiled. Hari smiled back. The old man looked so much like Sayyid Ali. Sayyid Ali was the man, children, who had spoken so well at the meeting by the black horse. Hari instantly felt that here was another fine and good man as this old gentleman whom he could trust. Then the old gentleman called him as a new boy at the Sri Krishna eating house. Then he went back to his examination of that tiny watch, but continued to talk to Hari. Some clocks hung tick-tocking on the walls and some watches kept in showcases. He asked in a high-pitched voice, You new to the city? Hari nodded yes. Children, he nodded yes. When do you come from? Are you come from Jagu's village? And then Hari said, he don't know about Jagu. He comes from Tool. He felt proud of that address. This gentleman knew nothing of Tool. He looked puzzled and curious about Tool. Then children, now let us come to next lines. I will read these lines from the book Children, page number 70. It was the watchman of a big building on a hill who brought me here to eat, and I have stayed to work. Other people have come to Jagu for help. The old man nodded, poking about the watch mechanism with a long, fine needle. He is a silent man, never speaks to anyone, but he has been good to many. Like those two boys who worked for him, their parents were killed in a railway accident. They were all living on a railway platform, as many do who come to the city to find work. And one day a train ran over the parents as they were crossing the line to fetch water from a pump. There's the station where it happened. He waved his fine yellow hand with the long needle in it down the street and then continued. That's when Jagu found the boys as he was coming to work in the morning, and he brought them here straight away and gave them food and shelter and work too. Hari was shocked by the story, but he did not like to be thought of as another orphan in Jagu's care. He did have parents after all, even if one was a drunkard and the other an invalid. And a home, a proper home, not just a place on a railway platform. Thinking on them, he suddenly said, "Sir, can you tell me where the post office is? I wish to buy a postcard." "Aha," laughed the old watchmaker, winking at him from behind the eyepiece. So children, it means it was the watchman of a big building on a hill. He brought Hari here to eat, and he have stayed to work. Many people have come to Jagu for help. Children, Jagu was a very helpful man. So many people have come to Jagu for help. Then old man said, Jagu was a silent man, but he never spoke to anyone, but he was very good person. He was very helpful person. Like those two boys who worked for him, their parents were killed in a railway accident. They were all living on a railway platform. They come to the city to find work. One day a train ran over the parents as they were crossing the line to fetch water from a pump. When Jagu found the boys, he brought them here straight away and gave them food, shelter and work also. So it means children, Jagu was a very helpful and good person. Hari was very shocked by the story, but he did not like to be thought of another orphan in Jagu's care. He had parents after all. He thought he had parents after all. He is not orphan boy, even if one was a drunkard and other an invalid. He had a proper home, not just a place on a railway platform. He suddenly said, "Sir, can you tell me where is the post office?" He wanted to buy a postcard to write a letter to the parents. Then the old watchmaker laughed. So children, let us read the next lines. Suddenly remembered you had someone to write to, did you? Yes, you must write. Of course, you must write. Go straight up the road next to the electric substation. There is a post office. Have you money for a postcard, or can I lend you some? Hari gratefully took the coin from him, promising to return it as soon as Jagu paid him his salary, and then hurried off to the post office. Having bought the card, he had to have a pen to write with, and for this he returned to the watchmaker, who seemed more likely to have one than the owner of the eating house. This was in the middle of the sweltering afternoon when there was no one in the shop, and even the two orphans had fallen asleep under the table from heat and exhaustion. Harry sat on the steps of the ding-dong watchworks and carefully wrote with a ballpoint pen. Then the old watchmaker lent him. Dear mother, I am in Bombay. I have a job. I will bring you my earning. I hope you are well. I am well. Remember me to my sisters. Then he wrote his name in large letter to fill up the space, but not his address, and went off to postage, feeling both happy to have done what he knew that he should do and frightened because this meant he would be staying on in Bombay, not going home. So children, here old watchmaker suddenly remembered that you had someone to write to. Of course, you must write. There is a post office next to the electric substation. He asked for money. Have you money or can I lend you money? He asked to Hari. Then Hari gratefully took the coin from him and went off the post office. He lent a pen from watchmaker when there was no one in the shop and two orphan boys had fallen asleep under the table. Hari sat on the step of ding-dong watchworks and carefully wrote with a ballpoint pen. He wrote a letter. Dear mother, I am in Bombay. I have a job. I will bring you my earning. I hope you are well. I am well. Remember me to my sister. After writing this letter, then he wrote his name in large letters to fill up the space, but not wrote his address and went off to post it. He is feeling happy to have done. He would be staying on in Bombay, it means Mumbai, and not going home. So children, in this chapter, there are few hard words. So I will discuss hard words and meaning also. So children, first hard word is score. Score means clean or brighten the surface of something by rubbing it hard. Second, knead. Knead means work into dough or paste with the hands. Third, inquisitive, having or showing an interest in learning thing. Next, sweltering, uncomfortably or hot. Children, next hard word is shabbiest. Shabbiest means in poor condition through long use or lack of care. Next, anxious. Anxious means troubled or uneasy. Grime. Grime means dirt which has got into some surface. Next, reedy voice. Reedy voice means piping voice. So children, learn all hard words of this chapter. I hope you all have understood this chapter very well. Children, I will attach PDF of this chapter also. You have complete all your work in your copy. You have to complete novel work also and learn for your half-yearly examination. Children, work hard for your half-yearly examination. Thank you children. Have a nice day.